Hey everyone, Victor is here, and in this video I want to talk about everything you need to know about the nomenclature of aromatic compounds for the test. We are going to talk about the must-know common names, we will talk about the Ortho-Meta-Para nomenclature and its limitations, and of course we are going to discuss the IUPAC or the systematic nomenclature of aromatic compounds as well. And so let's jump into our common names right away. When it comes to our common names, there are must-know and good-to-know names. And when it comes to the must-know names, those are going to be the benzoic acid, benzaldehyde, phenol, aniline, toluene, and of course we have our benzene. And when I'm talking about the must-know names, those are also the must-use names as well. These are the retained names that IUPAC requires us to use for the nomenclature of aromatic compounds. Although benzaldehyde has been kind of demoted from this list in the recent update, and the preferred IUPAC name would be benzene corbaldehyde, the name benzaldehyde is still in pretty much every single textbook out there, and it is most likely what you're going to be taught in your class, so I'm going to stick to benzaldehyde. Now, the order in which I listed my compounds here is also very intentional, because the molecules on the left side of this list have higher priority than the molecules on the right side, which comes in very handy when you have multiple groups on your aromatic compound. For instance, let's say we have this guy over here, the salicylic acid. We have the carboxylic acid and we have the OH. So, since my carboxylic acid has a higher priority, I do have to name this molecule as the derivative of a benzoic acid rather than a derivative of a phenol. So the IUPAC name here is going to be 2-hydroxybenzoic acid, or as I've mentioned, the common name for this one is salicylic acid. Or here is another example. We have NH2 and we have an OH group sitting on our aromatic molecule. Since OH has a higher priority, that's gonna be a derivative of a phenol rather than the derivative of aniline, which means that the proper name for this molecule is going to be 2-aminophenol and not hydroxyaniline. Or here is another example. In this case, I have an amino group and I have a methyl group. Since now amino group has a higher priority than the methyl group, that one is going to be 3-methylaniline and not aminotoluene. So do make sure you memorize this list and the order in this list, because I can guarantee that that is going to be on the test. This is a very commonly tested aspect of the nomenclature of aromatic compounds, so you can definitely expect to see that. Now, when it comes to the good-to-know names, here are a few that I see all the time within the scope of a regular course. Those are going to be anisole, styrene, benzophenone, and acetophenone. While there are a few other common names that you might encounter in your class, and if you do know those, of course, these are probably the most common ones that I see all the time. These ones, however, are not required for the nomenclature, so you don't have to use those when you're naming your compound. These are just good to know, guys, so you know what your instructor or your textbook is referring to when you see that name. Alright, moving on, we have Ortho, Meta, and Para nomenclature, which is commonly abbreviated as O, M, and P. Unlike the IUPAC nomenclature with numbers, when it comes to Ortho, Meta, and Para positions, those are relative positions to a reference group that you have in your molecule. In my case here, I have a very generic aromatic compound with some sort of R group, so I'm going to say that this R group is my reference group for the purposes of this example. Typically, your reference group is going to be the group with the highest priority, so that might be your OH or carboxylic acid or whatever might be the case. Now, the reference group is typically going to be the one where we are going to have our number 1 or carbon number 1. And the positions right next to that, which are going to be our carbons number 2 and 6, those are going to be your ortho positions. The next two, which are going to be our positions 3 and 5, those are going to be our meta positions. And the position right across from our R group, the carbon number 4, that one is going to be our para position. And if you're curious, the position where the reference group is also does have a name. It is called an ipso position, although it never shows up in nomenclature, so we're not going to spend any time on that. Now, the way we're going to be using Ortho-Meta-Para is probably easier to show with an example. Now, here I have a molecule, and in this molecule I have two different substituents sitting on my aromatic ring. I have the carboxylic acid and I have my iodine over here. Since carboxylic acid has the highest priority, that one is going to be my reference group, and that carbon is going to be my carbon number 1. Notice it doesn't really matter how I twist my molecule in space. The reference group does not have to be the top group of the molecule. It is a very common mistake and a very common misconception where people think that the reference group is always the top of the molecule. Doesn't have to be. Wherever you have your highest priority, that is your reference group. Now, in this case, if I number my molecule further, and I will have to do it clockwise to give the lowest possible numbers, at the position number 3, that is where my iodine is. And since we know that the position number 3 is the meta position, the name for this molecule is going to be meta-iodobenzoic acid. And of course, if you wanted to use the numbers, you could say 3-iodobenzoic acid instead of meta. Or, here is another example. Now I have my benzene with two different groups. I have an OH group and I have a methyl group. OH group has a higher priority, which means that that one is going to be our carbon number 1, and in order to give the smallest possible numbers to our molecule, I would have to number it counterclockwise, meaning that our CH3 is now going to be sitting at the carbon number 2. We know that carbon number 2, that is the ortho position, which means that the name for my molecule here is going to be ortho-methylphenol. Or, like in the previous case, if you wanted to use the numbers, you could say that this is 2-methylphenol. Now, here is the biggest limitation of the Ortho-Meta-Para nomenclature. You can only use that if you have just two groups sitting on your molecule. If you have more than two groups, if you have 3 or more, you absolutely have to use the IUPAC names. And when it comes to our IUPAC or systematic names, the rules here are exactly the same as we have seen a million times before. We are not going to be looking for the longest chain because we already have the aromatic compound, but within that aromatic compound we are going to first identify the major functional group, whichever has the highest priority in other words, and that group, that carbon where that group is going to get a number 1. Next, we're going to number the rest of our molecule 1 through 6 to give the smallest possible numbers to our carbons, to our substituents. And at that point, we are going to completely ignore the priorities. Priorities no longer matter. The only other thing that is going to matter is the alphabetical order in the case of the tiebreakers, if we have a situation where you can number your molecule two different ways. So, for instance, here I have a couple of molecules. In both cases, my highest priority group is this carboxylic acid over here, which is in the same position in both molecules. So that is going to be my number 1 on the left, and likewise it is going to be number 1 on the right. Now, in order to give the lowest possible numbers, I would have to number my molecule clockwise, which means that the OH group is going to be at the carbon number 3, and the CH3 is going to be at the carbon number 4. In my molecule to the right, I'm going to have CH3 at the carbon number 3 and OH at the carbon number 4 correspondingly. So the molecule on the left is going to be 3-hydroxy-4-methylbenzoic acid, while the molecule on the right is going to be 4-hydroxy-3-methylbenzoic acid. And remember that whenever we're putting our name together, we do have to alphabetize our substituents, and in this case, I am putting hydroxy before methyl because H stands before M in the alphabet, even though in the molecule on the right side, the hydroxy group has a higher number than the methyl group. The numbering doesn't matter for the purposes of the nomenclature when we're putting the name together. We do have to alphabetize regardless. Also a fairly common mistake, so do keep that in mind. Or, here is another example. I have a molecule with an OH, NH2 and CH3. Now, in this case, OH has the highest priority, So that position is going to be my carbon number 1. Now, here I do have a tiebreaker because if I number my molecule clockwise, I'm going to have my substituents at the carbon number 3 and carbon number 5. And similarly, if I were to number my molecule counterclockwise, I am also going to have my substituents at the carbon number 3 and carbon number 5. That is where our tiebreaker rule kicks in, and we are going to look at the alphabetization of our groups. We have the amino group, which means that in this case we are going to go with the clockwise and not the counterclockwise numbering, giving me a final name of 3-amino 5-methylphenol, and not the other way around. So here are a few more examples. In my first example, I have a molecule with the OH, we have this propyl group, and we have a chlorine. OH has the highest priority, so that one is going to be my carbon number 1. I will have to number my molecule counterclockwise in this particular case, so that's going to be my carbon number 2, carbon number 3, carbon number 4, like so. And so now when I put my name together, I'm going to end up with 4-chloro, 3-propylphenol as my final name. And notice that I'm still alphabetizing my substituents, and I have to put chloro with a C before propyl with a P, even though chloro, the chlorine, is sitting on the carbon number 4, while my propyl group is sitting on the carbon number 3. Now, in my next example, I have an aldehyde, I have OH, and I have the ethyl group sitting on my compound. Aldehyde has the higher priority, so that one is going to give me my carbon number 1, my position number 1, and in this case, I can either number my molecule clockwise or I can number it counterclockwise. So I remember that when it comes to the OH group, if it is a substituent, we are going to call it hydroxy. And of course, the other substituents that we have here is the ethyl group. So the correct numbering order in this case is going to be counterclockwise, giving number 3 to my ethyl group and number 5 to my hydroxy, giving me 3-ethyl 5-hydroxybenzaldehyde as my final name for this molecule. And as I've mentioned, even though IUPAC doesn't like benzaldehyde anymore, that's still what you are going to see in your textbook, so I'm still using that. And in my final example, I have the aromatic molecule with the amine, with the methyl group, and we have this isopropyl over here. Amine has the highest priority, so that one is going to be my carbon number 1. I again would have to number it counterclockwise to give number 2 to my methyl group and number 5 to my isopropyl. These are going to be the smallest possible numbers. If I were to number it clockwise, I would end up with the number 3 for my isopropyl and number 6 for my methyl group, which are bigger numbers, so that would not be the correct way. So here, once I alphabetize all of my substituents, I would end up with 5-isopropyl, 2-methylaniline. And again, alphabetization here matters, that's why isopropyl goes before methyl in the name. And another important thing to keep in mind, in the isopropyl, iso does count for the alphabetical order, so that's why it is going to be before methyl in this name. And one other thing that I want to mention before I wrap this video up is that the aromatic rings often can be substituents themselves as well. If we just have an aromatic ring as a substituent, that one is going to be a phenyl group. And notice the difference in pronunciation. When it is a substituent, that is a phenyl. When it is this guy with the OH, that one is phenol. So make sure you put your emphasis on the correct syllable. Next, if there is a CH2 group connecting your aromatic ring to the rest of your molecule, that one is the benzyl group. And if it is a carbonyl connecting your aromatic ring to the rest of the molecule, that is a benzoyl group. So, for instance, here I have a molecule. Our main chain is going to be 5-carbon chain with a ketone in the 3rd position, so that parent for that chain, or the principal compound, if you like, is going to be pentanone or pentane 3-one if we stick with the IUPAC. And in the 2nd position, we have the aromatic ring, so we are going to say that the complete name for this molecule is going to be 2-phenylpentane 3-one. In this case, my aromatic ring is just a substituent and not the parent chain, because we do have a ketone which has a higher priority, so that makes whatever chain with a ketone into the main or parent or principal chain. Or here is another example where we have benzyl alcohol, where this part of the molecule, the benzyl group, is a part of our name. Of course, we can use the IUPAC name and call it phenylmethanol, but what's the fun in that? And another example, which you are most likely going to see within the scope of your course more than once, is benzoyl chloride, which is the chloride of the benzoic acid. A fairly common compound, so you definitely do want to know that name. And that is all you need to know about the nomenclature of aromatic compounds. So make sure you do some practice, boop the like button for good luck on the test, subscribe for more, and I will see you next time.